Hey, it's Matt, and like the video title and length both suggest, we're going to be talking about a Voicemeeter banana tutorial. That's right, I'm going to try to get as complete and in-depth as possible. But first question you might have when clicking on a video like this, why do I want a software called Voicemeeter Banana? What is it? What can it do? Why do I want it? Why is this guy making a video on it? Well, one of the first things you can do with Voicemeeter is use multiple microphones at once. That's right, you can use a microphone like this, you can use a camera microphone, you could use all sorts of things, plug them all in, and use them in one software. Another thing that you can do with it is use multiple sets of headphones. Maybe you want to have your headphones and your TV and your speakers all hooked up to your computer, but you don't want to have to jumble around with all those Windows settings saying, hey, it would be a lot easier if I could just make this one click of, okay, I hear it in my headphones, but I want it on my TV instead. Maybe sometimes if you're a streamer or if you record videos and you use OBS, you want your Discord audio separate from every other audio that you have, your music, your games, all of that stuff. Or maybe you want to have your music separate from your games if you're a solo streamer or something like that. Other times, maybe, you had your eye on the Go XLR and you found out, oh, well, great, they're banning support for that. I might have a way of maybe, doing your own without having to spend that whole $500, at most, a Stream Deck and Voicemeeter Potato, which I have behind me. But that's another case and another video, and if you guys want a video like that, go ahead and let me know, and maybe we'll go into it. But back on the focus of the video for today, we're going to be trying to do a Voicemeeter banana tutorial. I'm going to be using my laptop, which has Windows 11 on it. This also works on Windows 10, which is what this computer was running. And a bit of warning, if you're trying to follow along with this video, I would suggest opening this up on a separate device from your computer. There are going to be some points where you're probably not going to be able to hear this video or really anything while we set it up, and because of the nature of it being a tutorial, we're going to be moving at a bit of a slow pace. So you can either set this up on a different device so you can follow along in doing that, or if you're dead set on doing it all on one device, if you only have the one device, go ahead, watch to this timestamp below, it should be somewhere on the screen, and at that point you should be able to hear some stuff and kind of continue and follow along there. But without too much more rambling and I guess a whole lot of other stuff, let's get into the video, shall we? Alright, welcome to the desktop, or I guess laptop, desktop. Anyways, first part is going to be the easiest. We're going to go to VB Audio Software. Link will be down below, and we're going to make sure that we are set to download Voicemeeter Banana, or they call it Voicemeeter Pro. Either way, we're going to make sure that we're looking at this page right here that I have a picture of for you. Also, if you're able to, please consider donating to the developers. This is considered donationware, so you can download it for free. But if you can spare a bit of cash, and if you like the software, or if you want to upgrade to Potato, go ahead, click that donate button right next to it, and donate what you can. Now that we have the installer, we're going to go ahead and, like every other program in existence, click the install and let it do its thing. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And alright, now that it's done, it's going to go ahead and give you a little welcome message on your browser. I went ahead and close that out, and we're going to go ahead and reboot our computer. So I'll see you when that's done. Alright, now that our computer's back up, we're going to go ahead and go to our start menu and look for Voicemeeter Banana. If it's not there already, go ahead and just search for Voicemeeter Banana and it should pop up pretty quick and easy. So now that we let it go ahead and load up as you saw there, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we don't have to keep finding it every time that we open up our computer. We're going to go ahead, go to this menu up here, and we're going to go to Run on Windows Startup. Something else I like to do too is set it to the system tray. That just puts it down here in this little part right here, so it's easy to find. And also one more thing I'm going to go ahead and do, this is just my own personal preference, is pin it to the taskbar. That way, if it doesn't run automatically, it runs up here. Alright, so I know that this looks like a lot, and to be fair, at first it kind of is, but let's go ahead and break it down. Let's go ahead and look at the first three things right here. We're going to start thinking of those as our inputs, or whatever we have plugged into the computer that we want to record from. These are going to be our microphones, our mixers, our instruments, MIDI devices, whatever you have plugged in that you want to record audio from. This is where it's going to show up at. Next up over here is the two different ways that we have to be able to split our audio from the computer. So in my case, I usually use this one as my, I guess, game and audio and music and all of that stuff. And then on this one, I usually put my communications. So like Discord, or if I use Zoom or anything like that, you can put that right there. Last up, we're going to have our three outputs. So this is how we're going to be able to hear stuff from the program. So we have, let's say, our headphones, our speakers, our laptop speakers if we have them, if we're listening on a TV and we want to use the TV speakers, or let's say we just want 3 different pairs of headphones because who knows, maybe we're doing a podcast. This is how we're able to do that. So let's go ahead and try to make this a little easier on ourselves. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and right click right up here. That lets us change the name to whatever we want. So I'm going to change this to mic 1 and then press enter. I'm going to right click here, mic 2 and press enter again. Do that again here, mic 3, press enter again. And for right here, I'm just going to go ahead and put this as desktop. Oh, desktop audio. And we'll just make it desktop because it doesn't quite fit. And again, we'll go over here, and I usually just name this Discord right here. Our hardware out, we can't really change that, but it's okay. It's pretty easy once we get there. Alright, so let's get into how to actually use this software. First, we're going to have to make sure that it's set as our default device in Windows. To that, we're going to come over right over here and right click on this sound here, open up our sound settings, and we're going to have this little thing right here. Let's go ahead and actually do things. I kind of like the old way of looking at things through this little part right here. So on Windows 10, we can go through our sound settings and then click on sounds. Windows 11, we're just going to go all the way down more sound settings and go from there. So first up, I'm going to come down here and make this Voicemeeter input as the default. So this right here corresponds with this channel right here. I'm going to make that the default just so that then all of our music can kind of go through that, our games, anything like that. This aux is right here. So that's what I usually make my Discord or communications software. That's what I usually run that through. So I'm going to click this to make it my default communication software or default communication path. Next up, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select recording. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make this my default. So this is how you can also set up a separate audio track to your stream and to Discord if you want to do that. This right here corresponds with this right here, this B1, which is our virtual output to our computer. B2 is, again, that aux output. If we want to, we can set that to our default communication device, and we'll go over that a little bit more later. Alright, so now that we have all of that set up, we're going to come in, and the first thing that we're probably going to want to do is figure out how to hear stuff from Voicemeeter. So we're going to do that right up here with that A1. Usually you're going to make this whatever your default listening is going to be, whether it's your headphones, whether you have speakers, whether you're listening to a TV. We're going to make that our A1 input. For the purpose of this, I guess, tutorial, I'm going to set this to my capture card so that then you guys can hear exactly what this computer is able to hear. And second up, I'm going to go ahead and make it my headphones that I have plugged into this computer. Now to test to make sure that we can hear some noise from it, and to also show you guys exactly how all of this stuff works as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up a YouTube video, and we're going to listen to a bit of music just so I can demonstrate that. Okay, sorry about that. It took a little bit to actually find a song, so we'll go ahead and play that right now. So as you can see here, we have everything set to go to our A1 and our A2, which in this case, our A1 is the capture card, just so that you guys can hear it on the recording, and A2 is going to be my headset. So let's go ahead and hit start, and as we can see, we have some bars right here moving. That's our visualizer of the audio, and we have them moving here and here. So if we want to adjust the mix to either of the devices, we can do it right here. But let's say we want to make sure that we only hear it in one or the other. Well, we can do it this way. So now you guys can't hear it on the recording, but I can hear it through my headphones, which I can show you by doing that, hopefully. And hopefully you guys were able to hear that through the mic. But also, let's say, okay, maybe I don't want to hear it through my headphones. Maybe I want to hear it through my TV. We'll go ahead and set that back and turn this down. And again, it only moves through the one. As you can see right over here, we have nothing going to the other output. So that's how we're able to split doing that. Next up, we're going to go into our recording. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're able to use a microphone, right? So for this, I'm going to go ahead and use my mixer. It's one of my older mixers. And as you might be able to hear, it should be working, right? Let me just go ahead and bump that up on the mixer. And from there, we actually have our audio. Again, right now you're hearing this mostly just through the recording, but once I move back over to my actual microphone, it works pretty well. Again, we can kind of limit it to if we don't want to hear it in our ears at the moment, we can click this A1 or A2, and that makes it so it doesn't go through either of these. We aren't able to monitor it. Now, if you look up here, we have a few different settings. It looks a little weird. We have WDM, microphone, and then we have MME. Some of you might have KS or ASIO. The only real difference between all of those is how your device is going to talk to Windows. Just a quick brief overview, WDM is a Windows driver model, which was introduced in Windows 98. It technically isn't a driver, but it's a way for devices to directly communicate with Windows. KS is known as kernel streaming, which is another way to talk directly to Windows. MME is Microsoft Multimedia Environment, which is the oldest on the list, but it might support most of the devices. And last but not least is ASIO, which is direct bypass of all Windows drivers to talk directly to your device. Just be careful with that. The quick and easy way of kind of getting through all this, go ahead, click through them. If you're able to hear things and they don't sound crackly or messed up or a weird delay, go with that one. If one doesn't work for you, go ahead, click on to, let's say if you're trying to use WDM, go ahead and move over to MME. That's kind of the easiest way to, I guess, say all that stuff. So we know for a fact that we have our audio coming in and we have audio coming out, but how do we know if Discord itself is separate? Well, let me go ahead and show you that. I might need to cut so I can actually open up Discord. So give me just a sec. Okay, now that I have Discord open, one of the easiest ways that we can check this is by doing this. So we're going to go ahead and do a voice test. As we can see, it seems like nothing is actually going through right now. So we'll go ahead and click on this drop down and we will set our input device to Voicemeeter output because that is what is on B1. And as we can see, it's already working, but just make sure we'll go ahead and make sure that our default output device is set to Voicemeeter auxiliary right here. As we can see, it's showing up on this one right here, and you're probably hearing a bit of an echo because of that. I'm going to try to fix that in post. But that's how we have that kind of set up, and we make sure that everything that we hear on here isn't on here, everything that we hear on here isn't on here, if that makes sense. Again, it's our way of splitting our audio. That way, if we're on stream or if we're recording, we don't have Discord and music all trying to compete on one thing. And I'll go a little bit more in depth towards the end of this tutorial here. Something else to remember too, let's say you plug your microphone in and you only see one of these bars moving. Well, that's when you'd go over and you click this mono button right here. That makes your stereo track, which all of these are, into a mono track. So then you have both of those bars kind of going, you're hearing through both ears. Usually you're only going to get that with some mixers if they have, two different channels, two mono channels that go in a stereo. Otherwise, you should be totally fine. again, if you have that issue, click this mono button and it should get rid of that for you. Okay, and again, let's say you have two different microphones here. For the sake of this tutorial, I keep clicking the wrong thing. I'll go ahead and I'll use my headset microphone that I have plugged in. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn that off as well so we don't have all that echo. But let's say I want to have my nice sounding microphone on, let's say B1 as the primary, and maybe B2 as a secondary. That's how we would do that. So again, maybe you were running a podcast and you go into OBS and you want each of the microphones on a separate audio track. Again, I'll go ahead and show this at the end of the video, but that's just a quick and easy way of how to do that. Again, usually the way that I kind of use this is I use both on my mic 1. That way I have Discord on a different level from my stream and things like that. Okay, so that's kind of all that you really do need to know if all you're wanting to do is just get this set up and get to work. Otherwise, if you want to stick around, I'll try to show you some neat stuff that you can actually do with all this as well. So I guess the first thing that we are going to go into is, again, if we want to play around with a few effects, Voicemeeter actually has it built in. So to show you that, I'm going to go ahead and move over to this. And again, we should be able to hear ourselves over here. And the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and, you see this box right here? We're going to go ahead and move this all the way down, and that adds a little bit of bass. If we move it over here, it sounds a little bit more like an old radio. And if we push it back, it sounds like there's a bit more echo. And again, we're just kind of able to play around with some of the effects here. If you want to set it back to default, just go ahead and double click and that'll set it back. Next up, if we want to right click, we're able to mess around with some modulation effects. So again, let's move that right over here, and we sound a little bit more like a robot. But let's say we want to move it over here, again, a little bit more like just a robot. In my opinion. And over here it sounds a little difficult to hear. Again, to get back to default, we're just going to go ahead and double click. And again, there's one more thing that we can do when we right click, and that's the position of basically where we want our audio to go into. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and set this to our left, and now you should only be hearing me in the left ear if you have both ears in. And if I push this back, I might sound a little bit farther away. Again, let's move this over here, and now I'm in kind of that far area of your right ear, and now I'm right in that right ear. That's going to be kind of how you're going to set up for ASMR if you're into that, or binaural tracks if you want to be doing that. Something that I used to do as well is, again, with this second device, I would use this like this. So I have this microphone in my left ear, this microphone in my right ear, and from there I would be able to split it in Audacity into two separate tracks. That way, if I needed that backup mic, I had that. Let's see, what else can we do with Voicemeeter as well? Well, another neat thing that we can do is, let's say you have a bit of background noise. As you can see here, it seems like my microphone is always picking up as I was going. Especially a good one to use would probably be my headset mic. We can set a little bit of a noise gate by doing this, just clicking and turning it up just a little bit. As you can see, that whole little background noise did go away, but as soon as I bring it to my face again and I start talking, it's able to pick that up. This isn't really getting rid of the noise completely, it's just setting a noise gate. So if you don't want to be trying to, if you have a lot of background noise or things like that, and you only want it to pick up when you're talking, that's how you'd set that. Conversely though, let's say that your audio is a little too quiet, you can go ahead, see this little comp, that is a gain knob. So we're able to add a bit of gain, or if you want to too, you can go ahead and adjust it with this. And again, you can adjust it over here with these two. Again, those adjust only the channels that they're going to, but that would be how you can adjust that as well. One more thing that you can do in Voicemeeter is you can set the EQ for yourself. So let's say you prefer to have a bit more treble, bass, and mid, but your stream, you want everything to be kind of nice and flat. Well, here's how you're able to do that, and your stream will be okay as well. Another thing that we can do is we can record in Voicemeeter itself. So to do that, we'll go ahead, we'll right click here, and we're able to select whatever inputs we want. I believe this is going to record to just a stereo track. We can set our target directory, file type. I usually try to prefer WAV or MP3. And we have our sample bit rate, bit resolution, channels, again right here. Again, we will be streaming to a stereo output. That's just kind of how this one is set up for right now. And if we go ahead and click record, we'll be able to have that file right there that we have set. And again, it will record all of the tracks that we have set. So if we look here, physical input 1 is going to be our A1, A2, A3. Bus 1 is obviously B1 and B2. And all of those things right there. Next up, we can actually adjust the EQ as well. So let's go ahead and come down to, if I can remember right where it is, it should have been, here it is, the 15 band EQ graphic. So if we want to set that to bus 1, so just our output is able to hear it, we can do that. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and make it bus A1. And I will come over here, just so that then we can kind of play around with it a little bit. So we'll go ahead and we'll drop some of the bass, we'll drop some of the treble, we'll raise a bit of those mids, and again, it's not sounding great, but if you want to sit around and play with some of those settings a little bit, that would be how you could add an EQ, and one more way of adding some gain as well. And again, with everything in Voicemeeter, go ahead and double click to reset it to its default value. Okay, and again, now that we have that all back to regular, we'll go ahead and close that out. I usually prefer to do EQ after in post, but if you want to do it in Voicemeeter, you have that ability as well. Next up, something that you can do is you can hold down either Control or Alt and add a limiter by just left clicking and dragging down. A limiter basically makes it so that no noise hits past that level. So to demonstrate it, we're going to come back over here, and I sound really quiet because I have it limited to only that native 40 dB. But if I left click and hold Control and drag that up a bit, as you can hear, I'm able to get a little bit louder again. This is a way of making sure that you don't peak. I guess one way that I can try to demonstrate that is by yelling. And again, it doesn't really peak because we have that limit set. So again, just another kind of neat little thing that you can do with Voicemeeter in its own program. I know a bunch of this looks very scary, it looks really crazy, but again, it's really easy once you kind of start playing around with it, and that's kind of why I want to do this tutorial, is to kind of show off some of these settings. Speaking of settings, we can actually go in and mess with some of these settings up here. So we're going to come up here to this menu up at the top right and come down to System Settings. That's going to open up this window right here with a whole bunch of scary stuff that we're not going to really get into, but if you have any issues, you can do that here. Something that I'm going to show off is we're going to go ahead and set our main sample rate. One of the most common ones is that 48,000 hertz. Again, there is the 44.1. There's all the way up to 192000. Generally, I try to keep everything at that 4800 just because that's what all of my audio devices are set to. That is the base sample rate that all of my recording devices are at. One way that you can kind of check that is, again, by right-clicking on Windows Sound Settings. And we'll go ahead and just scroll down all the way down here to those more settings. And just as a test, we'll go ahead and we'll right click on the headset earphones and properties, and we'll see what it's set to. As you can see here, it's set to 2 channel 16-bit 48K. From there, as long as we can kind of get those matching, we shouldn't have any issues with any sort of clipping or buzzing or anything sounding really delayed. As long as we have that set to the same as here. Again, everything looks for the most part okay. The only thing that we'd really need to change is set that to 16-bit and hit OK. And you're going to want to set your Voicemeeter sample rate to the highest sample rate that your devices can go to. And you're going to want to make sure that all of those devices are on the same sample rate. That'll prevent some clipping, that'll prevent some weird noises that nobody really likes to be hearing. Another way that you can adjust some settings is coming to the Windows search and looking for virtual and clicking this virtual I/O control panel. This will control everything that is on this channel right here. Again, this is a lot of stuff, and to be completely honest with you, you shouldn't have to touch any of this, but if you have any problems with latency or audio desyncing, here's one way that you can kind of set that. Again, if it's working for you, I'd suggest not messing with it, but if you have some problems, go here and change some of these settings. Again, you're going to want to make sure that everything is set to the same sample rate and preferably to the same buffer latency as well. Alright, and the last thing that I'm going to go ahead and show you guys is how to set up Voicemeeter and those separate audio tracks in OBS Studio. So let me go ahead and open that up and we'll get into that as well. Alright, and to show you guys, I went ahead and set up a new OBS profile and scenes. So we're going to go ahead and go into our settings here. For this tutorial, we're just going to be looking at the audio of everything. So we're going to go ahead and come down to audio. Our desktop audio, we can go ahead and set that to Voicemeeter input. If we have our Discord set up to this one right here, we're going to go ahead and set up desktop audio 2 to Voicemeeter aux input. From there, we can set up our microphone, which will be our Voicemeeter output. And let's say we have a second microphone, something that we have on that B2. We will go ahead and set that here as microphone 2 as Voicemeeter aux output. And we can hit OK and close that out. And as we can see, we have both of our microphones down here that are kind of working and at about the same level. Again, this top one here is my mixer. That bottom one there is my headset. If we scroll up a little bit, we will see we have a desktop audio and that desktop audio too. Just to show you guys what that difference is again, I'll go ahead and set that there and that there, and we'll go ahead and play again. Again, it might be a little loud, hopefully it's not. If so, I'll go ahead and turn that down in post. But as you can see, we have our desktop music, again, video game, whatever we're going to be streaming or recording on this. And our Discord is going to show up on this one down here. For that, let me go ahead and pause that and open up Discord again, and we'll go ahead and do that microphone check. And as you can see, it's showing up here, and it is showing up here. And you're probably hearing a bit of an echo, but hopefully I can fix that in post. So we'll go ahead and stop that, just so that we don't have a whole bunch of echo again. And if all you're doing is streaming, that's all you need to do. But if you're trying to record and if you want everything on its own separate audio track, we'll go ahead and we'll go down to this advanced audio properties here. And we're going to go ahead and look at some of these audio tracks. So again, if you're streaming, you're going to want to make sure that everything is set to this one right here. So leave everything checkmarked on 1, because that is the channel that everything is going to be streaming from on your stream. Next up, I'm going through and I'm unclicking all of these check marks and all of these things, just so I can try to limit things and put things on their own track. So the way that we're going to do that is on mic aux. I want to make that my first track. So I'm going to make that 2, and that's the only thing that I'm going to click on 2. Next up, I want to make my desktop audio. So all of my noises, my game, my music, anything that I'm doing here, I'm going to give that its own audio track by clicking 3. And again, I'm going to make sure that that's the only thing selected there. And next up, I'm going to go ahead, let's say I have a guest. I'm going to make sure that they are able to be heard on, let's see, we'll do this one right here, 4. Just so that then, again, they're on their own track and there's no real interference there. And let's say I have a guest, but I also have a guest on Discord. Well, we're going to set that to 5, and we'll go ahead and we'll close that out and go into our settings here. We're going to go to output and scroll down to, let me make sure, yes, recording here. And we're going to go ahead and select all of these audio tracks here. That way it will record to multiple audio tracks. From there, we'll have multiple audio tracks when we export it to our video editing software, whether it be Sony Vegas, Adobe Premiere, After Effects, any of those things. And from there, that's how we have that audio set up and split. I think that's all I really have to cover right now. Looking over at the recording, I am at about an hour long. So hopefully this isn't that whole hour of rambling. But if it is, let's go ahead and end this video here. And if there's any other questions or concerns, go ahead and leave them down below. I'm going to send this back to real life Matt though. Wow, that was a lot. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I try to go as in-depth as possible, try to give you guys as much information about Voicemeeter because there are plenty of tutorials out there. This is my way of kind of setting it a little bit separate from all of those. I haven't seen a video that goes too far into depth or talks about too many of these settings that I try to go into here, and I definitely haven't heard of too many tutorials that actually go into, you know, all those extra little fun things that you might be able to do with it. And again, if you guys want to see a video tutorial on how to quote-unquote set up your own Go XLR without having to spend $500, let me know. I can get to work on that. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below of what you would like to see next. If you have any suggestions, or if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this video, be sure to put those in the comments below. I've usually been pretty good about responding. Even if I don't upload videos, I'm usually still responding to comments. Along those lines of not really uploading videos, I've been streaming to twitch.tv/Mayu96X a whole lot more frequently. That's right, I'm a new affiliate, so I'm trying to put in those hours. So if you enjoyed my content here, if you want to see some more gaming stuff, if you want to see some more gaming stuff on here, let me know. But otherwise, I've been doing most of that over on twitch.tv/Mayu96X. Along with that username, I also use that on, what is it now? Twitter, X, the Elon Musk website. Mayu96X, if that website is still around in the near future, we'll see. But that's where you can find me right there. I also have a Discord. I'm not sure if I have that linked below, but if you guys are curious, I can put that there too. Anyways, thanks for watching. Before we make this video an extra 5 minutes, I'll go ahead and head out. Thanks for watching to this point if you did, and please remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that, you know, basic generic YouTuber stuff, and maybe we can make another video or two. I'm thinking I might be kind of back here and there. Yeah, I'm gonna go now. Before I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Gonna marry me, it was all in front of me. I might be delusional, but you're the only one. You're the only one. My mind is in a trap. Somebody take me back to my last dream.